Hello and welcome to this special edition of Curious Labs Between Two Nerds, where, as normal, we have invited a small human being to join us and have a chat about science. But this time, that small human being is not allowed to think for himself. The reason I'm saying that is because our small human being this week is going to represent you guys, our subscribers. Thank you very much, who have reached out and asked your own questions. So we're going to try and address some of those questions during this episode, and we'll introduce him now.
I'm Indy and I'm 8 years old.
This is Indy and he's 8 years old.
From episode 10.
Yeah, check out episode 10. Easily one of our favourite guests and one of our favourite small humans. And has been selected, as we've said, to represent all of our subscribers. Do you think you're up to the task, Indiana?
Yeah.
Yeah? Sure. Now, if you are listening to this on the podcast, thank you for listening, but you would like to get involved, we sent this out on our YouTube channel, so please come check us out on youtube.com/Between Two Nerds. Not only will you get to see what we look like, but you'll also have the opportunity to engage in the comments and respond to posts that we put out where we're asking for your questions, which is exactly where this has come from.
And this will be one of a first of many Ask Us Anything episodes, right? And, oh, by the way, you know the nerds. I'm Mo.
And I'm Eugene.
Okay,
Indiana,
Indy,
you are...
What are our fans asking us?
V15001 asks, what do you think of flat earth theory?
Okay. Don't think much about it, to be honest. First of all, I wouldn't use theory because a theory in science, right, is something that has evidence to back it up, right? It's not a guess, right? So guess we call, well, not a guess, but we call it a hypothesis if we're having a guess, and there's no evidence for it. A theory is something that has evidence to back it up. So when you came on last time, you had a talking about human evolution. That's a theory of evolution, but there's evidence to back that up. So it doesn't mean the same thing as like Charles Darwin just guessed it, right? Okay, so...
And did you know what flat earth theory is?
No.
Right, so it's... this will amuse you. So it's some people believe or profess to believe that planet Earth is actually just a big flat disk with a
dome.
Some sort of dome over the top. Space is fake.
Yeah, that is a hashtag as well. Space is fake.
What do you think
of that?
I think that's not true.
Good. All right, good.
I think you might be right.
Yeah.
So
let's say in the past, people have thought, not as commonly as people suggest, that the world is flat. Like if you didn't know any better, right? You're walking around, it doesn't particularly look very sphere-like, does it? No. Yeah, but we've known for a very long time, right, even before Christopher Columbus, that people have thought that the world is a sphere.
And when you look at like the horizon, you see it as flat.
That's one of the main.
That's one of the reasons.
People feared the horizon. So if you genuinely thought that you didn't know that the Earth was a sphere, you were sailing and you saw that horizon. People feared sailing towards the horizon because you would assume that it ends, there's an edge, and we're going to fall off. No, I wouldn't want to fall off the flat planet.
That's what pirates should think.
Yeah.
That is, but now, as soon as they tested that, they'd find they'd never reach the horizon.
Or they would call it the end of the world.
The end of the world, absolutely. But we know better now. It's a good question, but this is a science podcast.
It's not a theory. Flat Earth theory is not a theory because, I mean, there's nothing we can say because most time flat earthers just don't believe the evidence for the world is sphere. All we have to do is just go up from a satellite, right, in a satellite and get a picture down of the Earth and shows it's a sphere and that's it. But then if you don't believe it, then there's nothing we can say about it, is there?
No.
Right?
If you are a flat earther and you're watching at the moment, please leave a comment explaining why you're watching. I'd love to know.
Yeah, but so if you're not going to believe the evidence, and then also why? Why? It's not even
It's just
Why?
contrariness again.
But there's no reason. Like, what? No one is making. Who's making all this money?
So, there will be.
The globe makers.
Yeah, conference
The
runners.
globe maker lobby. So, no, not a theory. We know better.
As V1501, who we were discussing before, could be AI and a robot with a name like that. They got another question?
What do you think about aliens?
What do I think about aliens? I haven't met that many, so I can't talk about them from a personal perspective.
But I hear good things.
I've heard great things. They're very
things.
polite, sometimes a little intrusive.
You could say like other life. You might not say aliens.
Yeah.
Are you telling me to stop being
Because there might
facetious?
there might be other people that think we're aliens.
Yeah.
Completely agree. So, okay, my honest answer does I think depend, because when people say, what do you think about aliens? I think sometimes when you're asking that question, you are popping an image into your head that is this very civilized, strange-looking creature that
Or
thinks
humanoid.
and moves.
Is
I
most
just
of
think
the
of
time,
the
right?
movie Alien.
Yeah, or the movie Alien.
God, you've seen that? Yeah, good.
If you're asking
Don't watch it yet.
what I think, no, he's not allowed.
Yeah,
He's
it's terrifying.
seen it. Do I think there's life elsewhere in the universe? We don't know, but my personal opinion is absolutely yes, there is. It is just on probability alone, although there can be some debate around even that. But in my mind, yes, there is life somewhere else in the universe. I mean, we're even looking to our neighbours, Mars, with a good hypothesis that life of some sort was on that planet, and that's just the planet next door.
So for extraterrestrial life, there's so many chances and places for it to be. We find in the past they used to think that a planet would have to be in a very particular place, right, in the Goldilocks zone, right, not too far from the sun or not too close to the sun. But now we find life in like all sorts of weird places just here on Earth, like in volcanoes and stuff. So aliens or extraterrestrial life, you could just be bacteria living on a planet, like even Mars. So that is an alien. If it's intelligent life, me and Eugene have had a few debates about this. So intelligent life is like us.
Yeah.
Right? That we build things and
walk around.
we're
eat
conscious.
Things like together, hunt.
Yeah.
Hopefully make weapons.
Yeah, tools, that kind of thing. Now that
one for one.
So that might be. So I think an astronomer or a physicist, right? An astrophysicist, sorry, one that just looks at the number of planets possible. So there's 100 billion. So let's say 100 billion galaxies, each with 100 billion stars. So that's
a lot.
And each of those has about, let's say, on average, 3 or 4 planets around it, right? And so if you add that up, that's a huge number. It's like something quintillion, right? 4 quintillion, I guess. So that's a lot of space. There's a lot of places where life could be, right?
A lot of opportunity.
But a biologist would say that intelligent life like us happens very, very, rarely. There's so many things that need to happen, right, for intelligent life like us to evolve. So biologists would say there's a slim chance, and then physicists would say astrophysicists would say there's a really good chance. So we don't know. But I think there is there's definitely extraterrestrial life, intelligent life, probably.
Yeah,
I would say probably.
I'd say yeah.
I'd like it to be true, for sure.
It'd be a bit boring if we were it. But somewhere in that universe, do you think there's other intelligent life forms?
Yeah.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you based on just the vastness.
Yep.
There's a good chance. Some people believe there's a very, very strong chance that we'll find evidence of life on Mars.
Yeah.
Now, if we find evidence of life on Mars, that's two planets. Yeah, exactly. Then my argument starts to
Next to
hold
each
some
other.
credence.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What are the chances, right? Like if there's two planets with life right by each other, then there must be life in loads of other places.
There must be life everywhere. Now, and that life, as you know, you're an expert on evolution. So if there's life somewhere else in the universe, that life will also highly likely evolve. And somewhere that will have evolved in some sort of intelligent life forms.
Yeah.
So yes, thank you, V1501.
We'll do a much
do an
more
episode on
in-depth episode on aliens.
Yeah,
to cover it.
V1501.
But we think
Look out for that.
that,
Yeah. We're going with a yes.
Yeah.
I'd love to be proved wrong, or, well, I'm never going to be proved wrong, but we might be proved right
Yeah.
in our lifetime.
Cool. Next one?
What do you think about the Fermi Paradox?
Okay.
Okay, do you know what the Fermi Paradox is?
No.
I'm not great at explaining it because I don't really see it as a paradox, but it's, in simple terms, it's to do with intelligent life, not us, but being elsewhere. And the paradox is that if intelligent life existed elsewhere and had grown and spread, you would have to, then we would know about it because it would have visited. We would see it, would have colonized our own galaxy. So we would already know about it. So the fact that we don't see it is evidence that that intelligent life doesn't exist.
Yeah. But
Fermi.
Does that make sense to you? Does that sound?
Not really.
Good.
yeah, so it's just like, since the universe has been around for a very long time now, 13.8 billion years, and us humans, we've only been here for the last 200,000, right? There must have been other places, because there's so many planets and stuff, where aliens should have been able to exist.
Yep.
Just like
Right.
dinosaurs did.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay. But those aliens, at some point, they would have become advanced enough to start traveling through space, like we do now. Well, very basic. And then we should, in our time, like, where are they though now? How come we haven't met any? Because we only arrived in the universe last 200,000 years, so we should have. There should be some evidence of these aliens already, but we don't see it. So where are they?
Somewhere
That's the
else.
paradox.
But-
or maybe it means that before these alien civilization, before any civilization becomes advanced enough to travel through space, that something happens to them and they get destroyed. Like kind of how the dinosaurs died out before they had a chance to invent rockets. Not that they would.
They were teetering on the edge.
Yeah, exactly. With little arms.
Not so easy. We're going to have to sort this out from an evolutionary perspective.
Or this.
So maybe they destroy, so maybe a big asteroid or something hits them, or they blow themselves up before they get a chance to.
Or the part where they eat each other.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, or that. Yeah. So this things that was the paradox. Now, I don't think it's much of a paradox, because if they were there, then maybe they did come and we just weren't around. No one was home.
And
Oh, we're going ancient civilization.
we've also only been to the moon.
Yeah, and also, I think more than them visiting us, we would have heard like their radio waves, because their science should be the same as our science, because in the same universe.
Yeah.
So they must have at some point discovered radio waves, and we get the signal rather than us visiting them. Oh,
if you
them
think-
visiting
So
us.
the earliest life on Earth, arguably, could be 3.8 billion years ago. So if that's first life, it's taken 3.8 billion years for us to be us, for evolution to create us, if that's the theory you're subscribing to. Now, that's a third of the universe, pretty much, entire age. So I just don't see it. I can't remember, is this V1501? I just don't see it as a paradox.
I don't think there's been enough time. What if it takes a while? What if it was just not, it couldn't be in the planet with the first generations, right? It had to be second generation, so they'd still be where we are now.
Yeah.
Our radio signals that we started sending
haven't
out
gone
in
anywhere.
like since the early 1900s or whatever, it takes time.
Incredibly
Universe is
local.
massive.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a paradox.
So, Anushka asks, How is the aurora formed?
Very good.
Well represented there,
Yes.
indeed. Anushka will be grateful.
So do you know what the aurora is? R.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, because you said ah.
Do you know what the aurora is?
No.
It's, have you heard of the Northern Lights?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's the Aurora Borealis.
and then there's Aurora Australis, because it can happen in the South Pole as well. So there's the Southern Lights, and that's Aurora Australis. The Earth's a giant magnet, right?
Yeah.
You know that. Has a big magnetic field around it, like a force field, magnetic force field. And that, just like a force field in the cartoons and stuff, right? That protects you from, I don't know, laser beams or whatever. That magnetic force field, the magnetosphere, protects us from laser beams. No.
From the aliens. From the
From
Fermi
the
Paradox.
aliens, yeah. From the Death Star. You know, that planet-destroying ray thing that they have.
I've seen all the stars.
Yeah, okay, very good. Anyway, so there's a thing called the solar wind. So the sun's giving off like this wind of charged high energy particles. These particles would otherwise have just hit our atmosphere and kind of ripped our atmosphere away over time. But our magnetosphere protects us from that, because when it reaches that magnetic force field, it goes to the North Pole and the South Pole of our planet.
Like,
Yep.
Yeah, you remember the magnetic field, right? Those charged particles hit our atmosphere instead, right? Up at the North Pole and the South Pole. This excites the molecules of gas in our atmosphere, like the nitrogen and the oxygen. And when that happens, it gives off light, and that's the aurora.
yeah.
Would you like to go and see it?
Yeah.
I'd love to go and see it.
Yeah, it is one of the
Very
things I
cold.
have to. Yeah, I don't mind.
I've seen
Although
pictures.
auroras have in the past, so there are times when the sun is highly active and it gives off a
Are
lot more of
they-
this solar wind.
Are they normally green?
Green, I think the
Green,
greenness is
purple, and
because
blue?
because it depends on which gases are in the air, and because nitrogen's the main one, I think that's why the green's there. And the
So like
purple
green is the
maybe-
nitrogen.
Yeah, because of the nitrogen, and then there's the oxygen may give the blue. I'm guessing, but I'm sure the colors have to do with which molecules of gas are in there. Cool.
Also for Anishka, how does anesthesia work?
Very good. You know what anesthesia is?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, if you haven't had an operation.
You
So
know.
I had an operation. Do you remember I had an operation?
Yeah.
And when I had that 3 operations,
No, 3 stitches.
3 stitches. Oh, when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, actually, I probably got a local anaesthesia then.
Yeah.
But I had an operation on my knee because my knee got too old. And for that, they're not going to just start chopping and slicing me up
Would
without...
that be good? Would you want to watch that
Would you
happen?
enjoy that?
No.
No.
Do you think I'd be crying?
Yeah.
So how do they stop me crying?
With a sleep thingy.
With a sleep
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
And that sleep thingy is
anesthesia.
Anesthesia. Very good.
So the thing that puts you to sleep and numbs your knee.
Yeah, perfect. Yes, because you
That's
can have
exactly it.
some anesthetics that are just local. That means like, so if it was just like you're getting a few stitches, right? Because you busted your lip
Cracked your
open or
chin.
something. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Then just so that you don't feel the pain from that side, you could put a local anesthetic. And what that would do is it block, so you have pain receptors in your
Like
skin
when
and
you
your nerves.
extract a tooth.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
get
like that
an
as well.
injection. that-
Exactly.
Exactly. So
Numbs.
all it's doing is it's stopping electrical signals from your pain receptors, these nerve endings that feel the pain for you, from traveling to your brain. Because those electrical signals don't pass, you don't feel pain. So that's a local anesthetic. Now, a general anesthetic just puts you all. So something much worse, like
Just
let's
like this.
say, yeah, so just put you all to sleep. Not just
It's
sleep.
not so. It's not, technically it's not sleep.
Yeah.
It puts you unconscious.
Yeah.
So knocked
So it's
out.
different to sleep. Yeah, it's knocked out.
So it's like, so you don't feel the pain, you don't make any memories as well, because the worst thing is like you wake up, you didn't feel the pain, but you remember everything that happened to you, like your stomach being open and yeah. So there's that, and also what else does it do? Yeah, no memories and unconscious. Just as
Yeah, it
So it's
changes.
like a gentle way of putting you unconscious, like instead of whacking you on the head.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
With a
it's,
baseball
it's a more
bat.
managed way. So it stops. So I think a general anaesthetic does a similar thing to a regional or local anaesthetic with your nerves. So it stops those signals going to your brain, but it also changes the way that your brain is speaking to it. If we looked at your brain at the moment, loads and loads and loads of electrical signals firing from one part to the other part to the other part to the other part. If we put you under anaesthetic, where we're making you unconscious, those signals change. So your brain effectively stops speaking and all the chaos, everything stops
So it
happening.
basically ignores everything.
It doesn't turn off, so you'll still get signals,
Yeah.
but they're kind of be a rhythmical, predictable signals.
Yeah. So
so
even
it's
if
like
you
when-
felt like the pain, the part of your brain that feels the pain, right? Even if that still has some activity, it's not talking to the bit that makes memory, so you don't even remember that there was any pain to begin with. And no one's actually kind of sure exactly how it works, but close enough.
Discovered by accident.
So what's the next question, Indy?
Arctic Fox asks, can we reverse
Entropy.
entropy?
Yeah, okay.
I'm guessing from the way you read that you don't know what entropy is.
No.
Should we start there?
Yeah.
So entropy, if I'm going to give it in simple terms, entropy it's actually a law. So this has to happen. But stuff gets more disorganized through time.
Yeah.
So like you might put your books in the wrong place.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So entropy on a bookshelf would be on day one, the Mr. Men books are all in the right order. And when you look at all 50 of them, they say Mr. Men, and then you've got the Roald Dahls, and then you've got the
Harry
Mr.
Potter.
Gum books, the Harry Potter, we could go on.
Yeah.
But it's perfectly organized.
Yeah.
So that is in a low state of entropy.
Yeah.
Because there's not many ways you can change that without it being very obvious that you've changed it. It would look different if we changed it. Now, if we messed up those books,
Yeah, so like
and you had a library full of these books and you just messed everything up,
they weren't in, so you couldn't say, where's the Harry Potter books? And
no one
So you'd
knows.
find
No one knows. They're in
where
with the Mr. Gums. What's
Yeah.
happened there? So that would be a higher state of entropy.
Yeah.
So things get more disorganized. That is what entropy is. And the question was,
Yeah, so
can it be
in
reversed?
the universe, the law says that, okay, so second law. But basically what the second law first said was that heat will always go from a hot place to a cold place. From hot to cold, always.
yeah,
So it can't go
from hot
the opposite.
to even
It can't
hotter.
be, yes. Yeah, so from cold to hot. You almost tripped me up there. No.
No.
Yeah. So it will always go in that direction. Now, the reason why that heat stuff matters with entropy is because in the past, things were more organized, and the law says that stuff will get more and more disorganized as time goes on. So that tells us which we won't go into the time part, but so there's a law that says from high entropy to low entropy, from low
entropy to
so
high
low entropy to high entropy. Okay. So Arctic Fox asked, can we reverse entropy? Yes, we can, because there are ways that we make things become colder, right?
Yeah, like no, not oven. I said hotter.
Yeah.
You could put something into the freezer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So freezers, fridges, air conditioning, they make things colder.
Yeah.
But now that's only in this system. When you only look at the room, the room is becoming colder. But if you look at the entire system, that heat that we're taking out of the room, we're just throwing it somewhere else. So as a whole, the planet is becoming hotter because we're cooling this room. So if you look at the whole system of the planet, well, it's still becoming hotter, right? So we can reverse entropy, but it takes a lot of work.
In an open system. So if you take the unit, and I presume...
in a closed system. Yeah, so in a closed
System, we can't do it.
Yeah.
So if we go back to your books, so that is, we've increased entropy. We can reverse that. How would we reverse those books? How would we put that into a lower state of entropy?
By disorganizing.
No, they're already disorganized. How do we improve it and reverse that disorganization?
Oh, by sorting them out.
By sorting them out. And in that case, by sorting them out, you would have to do that, or I would have to do that, and I'm going to generate heat. So even though that system of the bookshelf, we reversed entropy there, overall entropy has increased because I've given off heat.
Yeah.
I've made noise while I'm doing that process.
Yelled.
Indiana, sort these books out, for goodness sake.
Okay.
I hope that helps, Arctic Fox.
Yeah,
cool name, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay, next question, Indiana.
Nikola Tesla.
Cool name.
Why, when you
From the
mix
dead,
red,
from the grave.
green, and blue paint, do you get black, not white, like light?
Very good
Very
question.
good question. Do you understand the question?
I think so.
So you know, and we've probably mentioned it repeatedly at Curiosity Lab. So white light, what happens when you split white light? You get all the colours. So when you take those colours of light and you put them together, we get white light. Whereas with paint, if you took those colours, so red, green and blue, so if you took red, green and blue paint and you mix that together, are you going to get white?
Red, blue, and green?
Yeah.
No.
No, you're going to get a murky, dark,
Brown.
browny black, yeah. So the paint responds differently to light, and I think that's the question that Nikola Tesla's asking.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like with light, like we don't even have to get all the colors of the rainbow. We can just take red light, green light, and blue light and shine it together, and it would become white. So like, let's say a phone, right? This phone here, or a TV screen. It's just to give us all these different colors. The only lights that it's actually flashing are red, green, and blue light. And just a mixture of those three gives us all of these other colors that we
Red,
see
green,
when we
and
look
blue
at
are
it.
the prime colours.
There you go,
Very
primary
good.
colors, that's why. But with light, what's happening there, so this type of light, we're actually adding the colors together, adding light together. So when we add red light and blue light and green light together, the color actually gets brighter because we're adding them together, okay? Now, when we paint things, the way that works, so right now, let's say there's a bit of red there on your hoodie, right? Red, pink, or something. Let's take the orange. So right now, white light is hitting your hoodie. To make that appear orange, this little paint that's on your hoodie, the print, right, is absorbing all the colors of light except the orange light, and that's what's being reflected back into my eyes, and that's what makes it look orange. So in this case, rather than adding light together, you're taking away light and only reflecting only one type of light. So the lights get darker.
So when you mix those paints together, you're actually getting all that light removed.
Yeah.
So the paints, you're taking it away, and if you take the red, green, and the blue, mix them together, you've pretty much taken away it's absorbing all the light.
And
So
what
it's just
color
taking
is
the
no
light
light?
in, like it's eating the light.
Yeah, so the paint takes the light in, whereas the light is the colour.
Yeah.
So you mix that together, it's going to get brighter. You mix the paint together, you're actually just absorbing more of those colours out the light.
Vinay asks, what is music made up of? And
Okay.
and why do we like it?
Okay.
Okay.
What's music made up of?
Sound.
Yeah.
Well done.
And what sound, Indy?
Vibration, sound
Good.
vibration.
And it's
Very good.
frequencies. Right? So it's, so vibrations. Remember, like we've made waves with the slinky?
Yeah.
Right? So frequency is how quickly you're making those waves.
So
that's what
slow,
frequency.
fast.
Yeah, and that changes the shape of the wave. So music is basically just frequencies of sounds and a mixture of different frequencies of sounds that have a pleasant.
Oh, but why is it pleasant?
Sound pleasant to our ears. But why is it pleasant, Eugene? I heard you have a theory on that.
Well, it's not my
that's
theory,
your
it's not my-
but it's the most
I think the bottom line is we don't know. And when I say we, I'm representing all of humanity. So possibly quite arrogant. But do you like music?
Yeah.
Yeah, people like music. Now, people like different sorts of music. And there is a theory. One thing we do know is that if I wired up your brain or Vinay's brain so I could monitor it and we played music that you liked, I would know that you liked it because the bits of your brain that are associated with reward and feeling good would start firing up. So that's why we know it makes us feel good. There is a physiological response.
So if you didn't look and I said, yes, I like the music, but I actually didn't,
I could tell,
because you didn't like it.
So we know
and I actually secretly liked it.
Yeah. Secret music.
So we could read your mind.
So we could read your brain. Now, the reason for that, or one theory for the reason for that, is it's because music has a predictability to it. So when you're listening to music, you it's got a rhythm and you know what's going to happen. And the theory goes that throughout evolution and being a human, having the ability to use sound to make predictions is a very, very good thing. So in its simplest form, if we're going to be cavemen, let's imagine we're cavemen, and we hear something rustling in the background, now we can make a prediction for what's rustling in the background, and we can respond to our predictions. So we might go, ooh, saber-toothed tiger, guys,
again,
get the spears out, pokey, pokey, stabby, stabby.
I think spears were more for woolly mammoth.
Well, that's a pedantic. It probably were. But still, if that's what I had to hand, I'd get my spear out, ready to pokey, pokey, jammy, jammy, the saber-toothed tiger, because I'm making predictions from sound.
Or your shield.
Or my shield, yeah. If I've got a shield, I'll pick the shield up. But also we can, if you hear rumbles farther away, you might be predicting that it's going to rain. So that prediction, that sound prediction, does give us reward. And music is kind of
I think it was also because you didn't want it. So they moved that from the logical brain that we have to think about it. Ooh, Russell. Now, what could that be, guys? Or rather made it more to the emotional part. So it was just
panic.
Russell. Right, I'm out.
we didn't even have to tell each other to grab the spears.
So that predictability of sound moved to that part, and then we got more.
So you
emotional.
Don't think,
So different cultures like different types of music, and it might be a bit learned, what kind of music you like. And as time goes by, though, so for most people now, I guess, unfortunately, for majority, classical music of the past isn't what they enjoy anymore, right? But if people like Mozart heard the stuff that people are listening to now, let's say Old Town Road, they'd be like, what is this god-awful racket? Even though we enjoy it, right? But Mozart may not have been a fan.
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, so it changes. This thing, it's like a cultural thing, I guess.
But wherever you are, even jazz, unpredictable jazz has a predictable unpredictability, I guess.
Yeah. And there's sometimes that we like the unpredictability of certain music. Yeah.
Plus, it can be just lovely.
Yeah.
Actually, asked how mitochondria
Very good.
helped trace the movement of humans.
Very good.
Very good.
Okay. Yeah. Mitochondria. Do you know mitochondria?
No.
Okay, so inside your cells, each and every one of your cell, right, needs energy. So we get, and to get that energy out of the food that we eat from glucose, there's this little, you know how we have organs, like a heart and stuff? Inside a cell, you have a smaller kind of an organ that we call an organelle. And there's one called a mitochondria. And the mitochondria's job is to take glucose, like sugar, from the food you eat and turn it into this other, chemical molecule that gives us energy to power our cell. Okay? Now, the cool thing about mitochondria is scientists think that at one time, mitochondria was its own living thing. Like a bacteria, sort of. Not even a bacteria. This is about 3 billion years ago or something. Mitochondria was a separate living organism. And then another organism, another cell, came and ate the mitochondria. Swallowed it up whole. But Usually, the big one would just digest that, right? But what happened in this case is that instead of digesting it, they both learn to live together. The mitochondria inside the bigger cell. And the benefit of that was that this mitochondria would make energy for this bigger cell. And then I guess for the mitochondria...
They were friends. Like,
they
each
just
gets a partner.
Exactly. And this is why, DNA, right? Yes?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have DNA, but mitochondria has its own DNA as well because it was its own separate living organism in the past. Now, the thing about all the mitochondria in your cells, you get them from only your mom, not your dad.
Yeah.
All of us, not just you. Right? We all get our mitochondria from only our moms, right? From our mother's side, that's it. So what this helps scientists do, so we can go in, take out, so if I were to just spit into a tube, there'd be some of my cheek cells in there. If I take out some of those cheek cells, right, and I broke open the mitochondria, I could get the mitochondria DNA, and I could read that mitochondria.
That'd be really hard.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's easy.
You don't see it. Like...
Yeah. It'd be small, but it's doable. Now, what that mitochondria helped us do, because first of all, it's only coming from one parent, right? It helps us trace. It's a very easy way to trace our past because there's no mixing of DNA. Because if you had your dads and your moms and it's all mixed together, it's harder to trace which came from where. Got it? Yeah. So by looking at the mitochondria's DNA, and we know it's only come from one parent, so we can trace that back and we can look back at all the mutations that have happened and find out. So if we gathered like thousands of mitochondrial DNA from all around the world, we can trace the mutations in the mitochondria's DNA back, and it's helped scientists figure out, it was the first clue for scientists to figure out that we all humans started from Africa. Just by reading that, because it's an easier and more simpler thing to read, DNA code to read. And then now scientists have also done it just by looking at regular DNA as well, which is a bit more complicated, but still possible. Cool, that makes sense?
Yes.
Okay, so Indy has represented you beautifully, subscribers, I think, but he has run out of will, and that's understandable. So I know there are a bunch of questions that we haven't managed to get round to. We will endeavour to get round to them again. We are going to do more of these special episodes where you can ask us anything. We hope that the questions become popular enough that we never catch up in a kind of way. But we will try, if we don't get a chance to answer you on here, we will find a way of answering you in the comments or giving you a little answer that way. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you again for your support, for your questions. Don't stop. Drop a comment below if this little conversation has caused you to want to ask some more. Hit that subscribe, hit that like. If you're listening, as we said at the beginning, do jump over to YouTube/Between Two Nerds, where you can get involved and ask us some of the questions that you may have. Cool. For now, though, thanks for watching. Keep it up. Should we give a wave?
Yeah.
Stare at the camera, wave.
Bye.
Bye-bye.